Arizona's school superintendent asking the state to pump more money into schools.
I think we have an amazing education system.
Plus, inside one middle school where a STEM program is helping kids dream big.
I would actually like to try and be an engineer.
And declared missing in action, now back on American soil.
He was a hero. That was such a young guy. Just kind of sad that he didn't have a life like the rest of us.
Full military honors for a soldier killed in Korea. Those stories and more next on Arizona Week. Hello and thanks for joining us. Arizona's School Superintendent Diane Douglas on a listening tour this week. In office for nearly 2 years, she's visited about 40 schools all over the state, talking with teachers, parents, and students. This week in Marana, Douglas, and Safford. Superintendent Douglas made headlines last week when she announced she'd asked the state legislature to pump $680 million into Arizona schools. The money would go directly towards school districts and charter schools, pay teachers more money, and in some cases a 5% raise, then on to rural schools for things like transportation money for improving buildings or building new ones, and funding for preventative maintenance. Superintendent Douglas says all this is in an effort to make schools safer and more effective. On the listening tour, Douglas hearing firsthand from students.
I was reading some of your proposals. Some of them were bringing cursive back into schools.
From parents.
And I want to see my kids getting access to healthy foods, not being offered unhealthy foods, not being offered snack foods all the time in classrooms. I want to see them have access to physical activity because they're kids. And I want to see them have those rewards to be mentally invigorated.
And teachers.
We don't really have a teacher shortage in Arizona. We actually have a shortage of certified people willing to teach. We have, like I said, a lot of gifted, wonderful, talented teachers who truly do not want to leave.
Douglas says she's used these listening tours as an opportunity to hear what people want out of Arizona's education system. And that's why she's asking state legislators to put more dollars into classrooms. On Monday evening, Superintendent Douglas spoke at Gladden Farms Elementary School in Marana. Here's a portion of my interview with her.
Well, I'm going to be talking to them. I think they might get a little tired of hearing from me, but uniformly, that's what we heard across the state. Now, this is my second year with the We Are Listening tour, and consistently, that's what we hear. Arizonans want their teachers paid better.
Do you think paying teachers more money will improve education in Arizona?
It will help. You know, giving our teachers the compensation they deserve for the vitally important job they do for our society, I think that is so important. But money's not the sole answer. We need to take a look at so many different pieces of our education system.
English language learners continues to be a challenged area in education in Arizona. What is your ultimate vision? How do you bring students who don't have the language in their background to where they need to be?
Well, once again, that's in your local schools. We have a system set up that the voters of Arizona some time ago declared that Arizona will be an English immersion state. And so we have the models and we support those and give the teachers the training they need. Now, we know we're facing a lot of challenges. When I was on the Peoria board, I think we had upwards of 100 different languages that were spoken throughout our 40-some schools. That's a big challenge for a school. So we need to keep working with these students because we want them all to be successful.
You're asking for the legislature to provide a lot of money into schools. What are you going to tell legislators needs to happen this year?
I recognize that my office is not responsible for appropriations. I can't make the money, but I do believe it is my duty as the elected superintendent to make them aware. And I'm glad I'm not them making those tough choices because there are a lot of needs within our state. But to not discuss the issue because all of that money may not be available is to do a disservice to that issue, in my opinion. We have to be talking about these, and there's no one right solution. There's no one magic amount of money that will do it. But I think we've highlighted some very important areas of need within our state. with the general funding, Prop 206. We know there's discussion of all-day kindergarten, that, you know, there's many that would like to see that. Once again, that's a legislative decision, whether that comes to be. Our school facilities must be maintained. I wouldn't be doing the citizens a service if I didn't tell the legislature that.
Arizona continues to be ranked one of the lowest states in the nation when it comes to per pupil funding. How did we get to this place?
We have an economy that's very different than very many other places. One of the differences, and who knows if this will change in Washington, we don't control a lot of our federal land to our own advantage. And that's an issue that most, if not all, I believe Hawaii had their federal land returned to them. I'm not sure if any of the other, or which other Western states have. If you take a look at federal land east of the Mississippi versus west of the Mississippi, it's a very different place to be at. We have a different economy, so you have to work within the confines of that, and I'm sympathetic to our legislators that they have to do that. But we still have to be addressing and talking about the needs that we have.
How would you describe Arizona's education?
I think we have some challenges, but I think we have an amazing education system, and it saddens me to see it get beat up so often, oftentimes in the press or in the media. We have amazing things going on. We have dedicated teachers in our classrooms every day. We are the leader in many areas. We have, just an example, we have a state-of-the-art computer system that we've worked on. You know, the legislature has mandated we do that, and we've created it. We have other states that would like to buy that system because it's so good. We have a test for alternative education students that's very cutting edge, was created with some of the best experts in the country. It's a consortium of other states that we worked with. Other states would like to get that. We are leading the charge. We were the first state in the nation to release our Every Student Succeeds Act plan, because we want to be a leader. We want to show the federal government we know how to educate our children here in Arizona.
You continue to take some heat from the naysayers, people who didn't support you during your campaign, yet you've traveled to nearly 40 different places over the last 2 years. What does that say about your plans for education in Arizona?
I think it speaks to wanting to involve the people of Arizona. One of my deepest held beliefs is that our education system belongs to all of us. It doesn't just belong to the parents who right this minute have children in class, or to the teachers or the administrators. We all have a stake in the outcome of the education of our children. That's also why it's a publicly funded education system, because our founding fathers saw that as such an important tool, an important piece of the process of making sure we have a well-educated citizenry to perpetuate our republic. So it belongs to all of us. We all have to be at the table discussing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Superintendent Douglas is in for a battle at the Capitol and working with a new team of legislators. Arizona Public Media's Christopher Conover with more from Phoenix.
The November election brought new faces to the state capitol, from leadership in both the Senate and the House to membership. A third of the members are new this year. They're up here at orientation learning their jobs. Representative Todd Clodfelter of Tucson is one of those new members.
It's like drinking from the fire hose. The protocol, the tradition of learning the procedures is, I won't say overwhelming, but it certainly is a massive information to try to consume.
Anything like you thought it was going to be?
No, it's way beyond that. What I'm finding out, though, is there's plenty of staff members on campus that are there to help and to guide us through these steps. We represent the people, but they are the nuts and bolts of what happens here at the state capitol.
The Capitol is getting ready for the arrival of the new session, but of course for new members there are some hiccups along the way.
I actually do not yet have a badge. Can I get through?
Yeah, I can budge you in there.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay.
For new Representative Kirsten Engel, that means checking out her new office.
So we're seeing it for the first time. You're seeing it with me in its empty state. So here it is.
In the Arizona House, Representatives-elect Engel and Clodfelter are a rarity. They're both freshmen from the same Tucson district, but they represent different parties. Only 3 districts in the state have that arrangement.
I think it'll work fine. Part of my campaign effort was to identify that I would represent all of the people, not just a core. And I think we need that kind of a balance from Pima County. We need a Republican up here as well as the Democrats to best represent the community of Tucson.
We're going to see. But so far, it's been working well. We're getting to know each other here up in the legislature, and putting all the campaign behind us now. And I think the point now is to just make progress on the issues that we came here to further.
Education is a top priority for many in the legislature. That includes the man in charge of the House for the next 2 years, House Speaker-elect J.D. Mesnard.
I think you're going to see a lot of interest in not only classroom spending, but in school construction and building maintenance. When the economy took a dive, we scaled some of those dollars back for new facilities or upkeep of facilities, and we need to re-examine that, or else we're going to be in a world of hurt later.
Earlier in the program, we heard from State School Superintendent Diane Douglas about her plans for education funding. That money must be approved by the legislature.
Frankly, what she expressed, at the very least, I would say, are priorities that we share. The strategy for getting there, for instance, dipping into the rainy day fund, I don't think that's going to happen. It's not raining.
With orientation week over, new members now return home to spend time with their families, digest what they've learned, and figure out what the top bills will be for the upcoming legislative session. The session begins January 9th. At the state capitol, I'm Christopher Conover, Arizona Public Media.
Back to the classroom now. In Altar Valley, the school district launching into STEM efforts. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. A place where nearly 30% of the community is below the poverty line. The school leaders are determined to give kids some of the best educational opportunities.
I think the kids love it. They just really, they get into it. There's so many exciting things in the Paxton lab. They have robotics and they have medical imaging. We have kids who say, oh, I want to be a veterinarian. We have kids that will do alternative energy. It's an opportunity for kids to sort of explore what their interests might be.
The Paxton Patterson labs came to the Altar Valley School District by way of a grant, a competitive one. 100 districts applied. This rural school west of Tucson, one of 7, awarded the funds. Offered to middle schoolers, these tools propel a modern way of learning.
It's a program where you have a bunch of different modules or areas, like forensic science or veterinary medicine. There's digital music and 3D printing. There's a bunch of different ones, and they all have different activities you can do to experiment and see what it's like if you actually got a job in that area. The nozzle gets to one.
It's really fun to do. It's actually a great program to use. It helps you learn stuff without having to just do it on your own. Like, it gives you help, but you also have the challenge of being able to do it yourself.
Introduced to programs and systems they've never seen before, improve skill sets, fostering a new dream.
I would actually like to try and be an engineer because this is also another fun thing that I like to do, and it kind of gave me an idea of what I would like to do, something fun and productive.
In 1 year, test scores have nearly doubled. The school stepping up to teach a new caliber of student.
We're offering now over 20 different modules for kids to see what they like, see what their interests are, and we're able to incorporate, STEM and English in there. The writing has improved significantly.
More than science, technology, engineering, and math, this program is setting a new standard.
The critical thinking and the reading that takes place in that classroom is amazing.
Textbooks they're gone. I really believe that. I think kids learn better now using the computer. I think that's where their skills are. I think kids are born almost with with a phone in their hands. They know the technology quickly. I'm much older, so it takes me a while to figure out the technology, but kids can just figure it out really quickly, and that's the way they learn, and that's what we want to tap into, the way they learn.
We've seen some great successes with student test scores, and having a Paxton Patterson lab opens so many more doors for students that they just had no idea that was even a possibility.
If every student could experience it, that'd be really cool.
It's just a really good program to help you learn new things.
Beyond the classroom, what they learn here laying the foundation for the future. A diamond in the desert, Superintendent David Dumont says his staff strives to provide kids with the resources they need to be successful, and it begins with a new program.
Our Paxton Patterson lab and we're really trying to focus on our 21st century skills of communication, building communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity with our students. And so the Paxton lab was something 3 years ago. About 4 years ago, we were able to participate in a grant that got us started. 100 schools applied, 7 schools got the grant, and so that's really got the ball rolling. So we decided to pilot the Paxton Patterson lab, and really focuses on careers for our students out there. We're removed from Tucson, and so we wanted to try to offer opportunities for the kids to be able to learn about different things, and so that's really why we brought Paxton Patterson to the school.
And it's been effective. You said that test scores in some areas have actually doubled?
Yes, as we looked at last year's district benchmark scores to this year's district benchmark scores, comparing first quarter data, we've increased anywhere from 20% to 60% on our reading, our math, and our science benchmarks. So we're really excited about what we're seeing so far. We're just wrapping up we're getting ready to start our second quarter of assessments next week, and we'll be comparing that data and looking at how we're doing, but we're expecting similar celebrations.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, you can provide these students with this information, but then to see it happen so quickly.
Well, really, it goes down to the teachers at Alta Valley Middle School are just an amazing team that works together. Our teacher that we have leading the Paxton Patterson lab is a huge advocate for the students, and really, they're going in the Paxton lab and they're getting introduced to different careers, but it's really all of the teachers working together, trying to get them to bring everything together. And that's really what STEM is just really about trying to integrate all the different areas and help the students learn about different careers and opportunities.
In the piece that we saw, some of these kids are saying, I never thought about being an engineer, but maybe now I want to. Is that the idea behind this?
It is exactly the idea, and it's the idea. I mean, we have laser technology, we have forensic science, so they're able to choose a career that they might be interested in, and 9 times out of 10, the students are like, I love it. And you'll have a student be like, oh, well, maybe this might not be the career for me, but they complete the module, they're successful. So it's a learning opportunity, and that's what we want to do to get them to realize now, to start thinking about what am I gonna do with the rest of my life.
This is something that's really new for this community.
We're trying to figure out ways to. We have a lot of students that actually live in our 700 square miles, and we know that parents and students have choices, and we really want to create a first-class educational system in Alta Valley. I really believe that we have an amazing place, and so bringing in the STEM and the Paxton Lab is really just creating again, just more opportunities for them. And we've expanded our summer school to we're calling it a STEM summer camp, and it's really all just completely on technology, forensics. It's really changed the way we've done or are doing things in Alta Valley.
All right, Dr. David Dumont from Alta Valley, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
All across the Tucson area, there are STEM efforts in schools. Raytheon, a missile defense contractor and the largest private employer in southern Arizona, says 50% of its charitable giving goes toward increasing STEM education. With more on that, here's my colleague Zach Ziegler and Raytheon spokesman John Patterson.
There really is a national imperative to get more students involved in STEM education. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. It's not good when countries like China and India graduate more engineers annually than the United States. And so for our nation to keep its technological edge, we really do need to see more students choosing those careers if they're good in math and science. Because it's not just adding up a column of numbers, it's the application of that. And that's what we try to do, inspiring the next generation of engineers. But also, we need talent. As our population, our workforce ages, we need the next batch of innovators to come in, those young people to come up with new solutions that we haven't even thought of. That happened 20, 30 years ago in aerospace, and we need the next group to come up and innovate as well. So there's two main reasons, those two main reasons are why we're so interested in this.
You talk about getting that next batch of talent. How much has that been coming here locally? I mean, there has been efforts from Raytheon for a decade now. Are they starting to pay off? Are you seeing some homegrown talent coming up from Tucson to the U of A and on to Raytheon?
You bet we are. Let me, if you will, let me run through some of the community outreach efforts we have centered around STEM education. First and foremost, we do a Math Moves You Day with the University of Arizona every year. We bring high school students to this campus. They build Galileo scopes and they work with our young engineers to get inspired and ask questions and really see that they too, if they have this kind of interest, could have a career at a company like Raytheon. We do math nights at Sunnyside High School where we are mentoring with our employees, mentoring high school students who may be struggling a little bit with calculus or with algebra. Our engineers go down and spend a couple of hours with them, almost in a one-on-one setting, and these students get to understand concepts that may have been difficult for them before. So that's very rewarding for us, and we have no trouble getting volunteers doing that. Do we see the benefits of this? You bet. We've helped raise test scores at Sunnyside as a result of this, and the first batch of high school students that decided to choose engineering as their major at the University of Arizona are graduating, and some of them are coming to work for us.
You mentioned the U of A as a pipeline. I'm not 100% sure on the undergraduate, but nearly 2/3 of its engineering graduate students are international students. That represents a bit of a problem when it comes to recruiting for Raytheon, yes?
We have to have U.S. citizens. That's not our rule. That's the rule of our number one customer, the Department of Defense. So that shows you why we need to grow talent. We need to have homegrown talent, and it's why we're so interested in inspiring the next generation. Our programs reach from elementary school, if you can believe it, through middle school, through high school, and even college. Let me say a bit about the elementary program. It's called Engineering is Elementary. You'd say, what? You're teaching engineering concepts to elementary school students? But we really are. Those elementary teachers are great at phonics and English and some of those key concepts, but they might be a little intimidated with advanced engineering concepts or even basic engineering concepts. We've purchased a curriculum that we give to them, and then we go into the classroom and we'll build suspension bridges with the third graders using popsicles. There's a lot of math in that, Zach.
John Patterson, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some political news now. Just this week, David Farca, president of the Arizona-Mexico Commission, resigned. A spokeswoman for the commission says Farca stepped down from his volunteer position. It's unclear who will replace him. Other news now. The nation paused to remember the 75th anniversary of the attack at Pearl Harbor. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey traveled to Hawaii, where he visited the USS Arizona Memorial, and he met with World War II veterans. To Phoenix now, honoring a life lost nearly 60 years ago. The remains of Private First Class Daniel Hunt laid to rest at the National Memorial Cemetery of Arizona in Phoenix. A tribute to his service now from my colleagues Nate Huffman and Daniel Holden. Full military honors for Private First Class Daniel Hunt, a burial nearly 6 decades after his death.
Welcome all, family, friends, distinguished guests, fellow patriots, and all those inspired by PFC Daniel Hunt. With the gift of Daniel Hunt, God breathes new life and hope into all of us, and especially all the thousands of families who covet this miracle.
On September 28, 1951, Daniel and other U.S. infantrymen were barraged by mortar attacks while conducting operations east of the area known as Heartbreak Ridge. Survivors of the attack withdrew. PFC Hunt was declared missing in action.
Such a young guy. Just kind of sad that he didn't have a life like the rest of us.
Just 18 years old at the time, he was one of 17 children from a family in Michigan. His niece, Delphine Kyle, grew up with him.
He was missing in action, and then they declared him dead after a couple of years.
This past February, South Korea handed over what was thought to be the remains of American soldiers to the United States.
When I was called from Kentucky, they called me and asked, told me, and I just couldn't hardly understand the whole thing. I mean, it was just unbelievable that it was happening.
DNA analysis and other circumstantial evidence concluded Daniel had been found, giving this family closure. Deborah Gautier here to honor a great uncle she never met.
This is part of history that most people don't get to experience it. It's been a learning experience. We've been able to actually get reacquainted with family and find out things that we didn't know.
A family reunited at last.
The man I never knew would bring great honor to our name. Our family brought together. From this day forward will never be the same. The man I never knew would soon impart a magnitude of love, gratitude, and honor that has forever changed our hearts. As the story of his return came to reality, the man I never knew came to life for me. Welcome home, Uncle Daniel.
Private First Class Daniel Hunt, a brave soldier, awarded 3 Purple Hearts in less than 1 month of service, a tribute to honor a hero who made the ultimate sacrifice. His family grateful to welcome their soldier home to American soil.
Never give up hope. That's been our message since we started. Never give up hope. Because even if the people that knew them aren't here, the people that remain will be here and do the same thing our family did.
And that's our program. For all of us at Arizona Public Media, I'm Lorraine Rivera.